Hello and welcome to Oh the Horror, where we all go a little mad sometimes. I'm Jack Ellis,
And I'm Matt Ellis.
and today it is still the Christmas season, so we will be taking a look at the 2015 modern classic Krampus, directed by Michael Dougherty, the same person who did Trick or Treat, and starring Toni Collette and David Koechner. So let's just go ahead and get into it. The movie starts about 3 days before Christmas at a department store. There's cheery Christmas music. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas by Bing Crosby, to be exact. And it shows sort of the, mayhem of Christmas shopping and consumerism as a whole. And yeah, it's sort of it's a really good scene in my opinion. I like the blend of music with imagery and how crazy people go for the holidays. And for some reason, in the middle of this department store is a nativity play, and in that nativity play, a kid named Max is beating the crap out of another kid while his family looks on and his sister laughs. And so begins Krampus.
And it's also worth noting that all the other parents were just like smiling while capturing it on video.
Yeah.
And probably just being all like, oh man, this makes me feel so much better as a parent.
Yeah. And then we begin the Christmas festivities as they return home, and Omi is making cookies, and they all return home with gifts. The teenager Beth is talking on the phone with her boyfriend. The dad, Tom Angle, is on the phone with his boss, even though he is out for Christmas. And the mother, Sarah, is trying to get everything ready because, little do they know, shit is about to hit all of the fans before Krampus is even in sight when the extended family come to town. What do you think about the beginning? Just before we get into the main bulk of it.
The beginning I thought was actually pretty good. I mean, like, the satire that's gonna be like one of the big themes throughout this entire movie when it comes to criticizing all the crappy, elements of Christmas, like, was pretty well captured within the very first scene where you've got people just killing each other to buy things, and just, you've got kids fighting, and it's just, it really just opens up with just, I'm not really sure where I'm going with this, but yeah, I like the beginning because I thought it made a really good point. Christmas is it is a festive and lighthearted time of year for most people, but it's also got a lot of avoidable negative aspects to it, which I think can be improved on.
Now, for context, I am a frequent Black Friday shopper, as we talked about in the Black Friday review. I have never been in the thick of a holiday ramble, or whatever they call it. I go to our local mall on Black Friday, and even at that, it's just crowded, but not hectic. But yeah, so we don't have any real thing to talk about the accuracy of this, but yeah, I'll let you keep going.
That was pretty much all I had.
Yeah, well, I like the opening too. I honestly think this is what the montage in Black Friday wanted to be if COVID-19 restrictions had been a little bit more forgiving. It is a really well-crafted sequence, and you might think that the sort of, I guess, nature of how absolutely insane this place is meant to, be played for laughs, as far as, something reminiscent of Jingle All the Way. But I think it's saying that what these people are doing is wrong, and it's sort of just poking fun at American consumerism as a whole. And this part actually does remind me of that part from, what is it? There's a video about Jingle All the Way where it says, uh, we get the first realistic Christmas movie where Christmas turns everybody into an asshole, which is pretty much what this is. And I really do, I really could just talk about the sequence all day because I love it, because you have this cheery music that's what Christmas is supposed to be, against grown people who are going absolutely insane over toys versus what it actually is. And yeah, aside from that, from this premise, you might think that the beginning of this movie will be somewhere on par of your average Christmas movie, where it's just about a dysfunctional family who are really griping towards each other, and it could either be funny or unpleasant. But honestly, as we see throughout the extended family sequences, this family doesn't hate each other. It's not even that they are annoyed by each other. It's just Christmas is kind of sucky for a lot of people, and they do seem to like each other and make time for each other. It's just, a lot of things are happening, and it's not easy to deal with. But yeah, then the extended family comes. That would be Sarah's sister, Linda, her husband, Howard, the children, Howard Jr., Stevie, Jordan, and baby Chrissy. And probably the worst of all of them, Aunt Dorothy, who is vulgar, rude, and a bit of a drinker. They all gather for a dinner, and they're all, sort of bickering and, talking, like extended families do. And then Jordan and Stevie pull out Max's letter to Santa and begin reading it, and then the whole family realizes that he's writing about all of them. And then Jordan, Stevie, and Max all get into a fight where Max yells, I hate everyone, and then goes up to his room. And I don't know about you, did you get, beginning of Home Alone vibes from this? Like, where he's yelling at his family and stuff like that?
Yeah, I did, but I mean, I felt like it was a bit more warranted from Max, though. I mean, in Home Alone, what was the kid's name? Kevin, yeah. Was just, the family was getting on his nerves, and he just came out and started acting like a total brat. But Max, Jordan and Stevie were just being complete little assholes.
Yeah, it just seemed like Max was the sort of kid who was, a good kid who was out for what Christmas actually stands for, and is just repeatedly, taken down by his family. And yeah, Tom tries to calm down Max in his room by talking about the importance of family. And even though that does work at the moment, Max ends up tearing up his Santa letter and throwing it into the sky. And my God, that scene where the winds in the suburbs must be something else, because he throws out the window and it just takes it right up into the moon like an industrial fan or something like that. But yeah, and then some clouds roll in and it takes the whole neighborhood out. And I love this scene because there's an overhead shot of all the power going out all around. And the director, Michael Dougherty, actually included a lot of Easter eggs for people's houses around. So I think you can see Michael Myers' house, Ferris Bueller's house, I think, is in there somewhere. I want to say the Home Alone house maybe is. Don't quote me on that. But
as if they haven't used Home Alone enough already.
Yeah.
Like this also gave me
Yeah.
big Home Alone vibes.
Yeah.
The whole.
Yeah, but next week we'll be talking about a movie who has a lot more Home Alone vibes than this, so stay tuned. Then the heavy blizzard comes and then takes out all the heat, electricity, and phone signals. We'll break because this is when the movie starts to heat up. Pun thoroughly intended. What do you think about this part?
I thought it was pretty good, and you know, like I said, this movie does a lot with being satirical towards some of the aspects of Christmas that a lot of people have to deal with. Like, you know, I mean, Linda's sister and Aunt Dorothy, of course, pretty much, along with their two bratty kids, they pretty much spend the entire dinner just shitting on everything Linda has done. And it's just, you know, I can really understand why it is everybody was like, you know, because that's another thing. A lot of people, we don't really have to deal with this, but something a lot of people have to deal with around Christmas time. First it covered American consumerism, and now it's going on to having to deal with toxic family members because they're related to you and it's the holidays. Like, that's really it, you know? And, you know, it's like you really shouldn't have to, it really should not be that way, but for a lot of people it is. But yeah, I like everything that's gone on so far. It's kind of like, it's also what you would probably expect to see from a family like that. They didn't really overdo it. Like, they, you know, kind of like in Christmas Vacation with Cousin Eddie, I kind of thought they overdid the whole, like, you know, goofball, redneck dad. Like, this movie I kind of thought captured it all pretty well.
Yeah, I think it was, what I was going to say is that this portrayal of how two different families will interact at Christmas time, I think, is one of the most realistic as far as the real world goes. And I think anybody who sees their extended family around Christmas time will probably relate a lot to this. And yeah, I think the first 20 minutes or so sets up this perfect atmosphere where you're just waiting for all these people, for Krampus to just come and just knock some sense into them. And, you know, it's, honestly, I think if this movie had been made like 1 year later, David Koechner's character would be wearing a MAGA hat or something. And, yeah, as far as the characters are realistic, they're understandable, and even some of them are a bit likable, but they clearly have different opinions towards different things as far as, you know, guns or politics, and that tends to happen.
Like, Aunt Dorothy, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, Aunt Dorothy, for example, like, we all know at least one person like her.
Yeah.
She's about, like, even if you don't really know them, you've met someone like that before.
Yeah. And, I really do like this part of the movie because it sets the tone. And there is one really funny part where they're hanging up all these pictures on the wall, and, like, I don't remember, but it was like they had a picture with Santa, but the Santa was staring at, like, the mom's ass or something like that.
I think it was actually the teenage girl.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. That was, I thought that was funny. But,
and the mom put it up, and she still didn't take it down.
Yeah.
Like, I think people are gonna comment on that.
Yeah. And, so, yeah, as we roll along through the rest of the movie, Beth volunteers to go to her boyfriend's house through the snow, such a noble sacrifice. But to see if everything's fine over there and if they could get some help. And she's actually the first person to get attacked. Krampus is chasing her across rooftops, and she ends up getting killed while under a snowplow. I probably shouldn't say killed. The physics of this movie, as far as when you know the ending, I don't know if he's capturing them or killing them, because in Krampus lore he does both. But I'm not sure of the physics as far as when you know the ending, which we'll talk to. Spoilers are out. I'm sorry, guys. Listen, if this were a new movie that just came out maybe this month or something, we would have spoiler wars. But if we're talking about a 6-year-old movie, we're gonna not worry about that sort of thing, because we're gonna operate under the pretense that everyone who has seen this movie, has seen this video, has either seen the movie or knows what's happened in it. So, everybody good? Alright. So later on, Howard and Tom go to look for the girls, and they arm themselves up and go to Derek, her boyfriend's house. They find it empty and destroyed, and I believe they even find hoof marks, which is a nice touch. They both keep looking, but Howard gets the guns, and they are soon attacked by something under the ground, which grabs Howard, but Tom pulls him out. Howard has major cuts on his leg, and they go back to the house, and they explain that they do not have Beth, and they decide to hunker down until the storm lets up, and then look for her. That night, they completely board up the house, when they were asleep, including Howard, who was supposed to keep watch, a gingerbread man is hung down the chimney by a hook. Howard Jr., I'll say it, have you ever seen the movie Bad Santa?
I don't think so.
Yeah, the little kid in Bad Santa looks a lot like this kid, and the kid from Bad Santa was actually in Trick or Treat. He was the kid who got poisoned in the very beginning. So, yeah, I just think that's a nice touch. And there's a really great scene where they're panning across all the people, and Silent Night is playing, and then the gingerbread gets lowered down the chimney, and Howie takes a bite of it, which is almost certainly covered in ash and soot. So that... Well,
he's a pretty fat kid, so, I'm surprised he didn't continue even after he saw it was alive,
Anyway, so then the gingerbread cookie snatches it up and takes him up the chimney, and he accidentally kicks a tree log, which lights the tree on fire. They try to save Howie, but to no avail. After this, Omi explains that they're being attacked by the demon entity known as Krampus. He attacks people who have lost their spirit of Christmas, as in people who've lost hope, wonder, giving, and love. She knows because she was attacked when she was little, and it killed her family, and because she had stopped believing. Let's talk about this part. For me, I like the stop motion sequence of her explaining the legend of Krampus, or at least how she remembered it. I like the scene, before this, as I talked about. And, yeah, again, they're disagreeing over guns, and that's, something that happens. But anyway, I do wish this movie went more into the lore of, what Krampus actually is and what he does, rather than one character's personal experience with him. Because Krampus in this movie is very vague as to what he is and what his motivations are. Um, when he shows up, I'll talk about it when we actually see him. But like, I wish this part had gone more into like what Krampus does apart from one character's experience, because that could have been actually interesting. Because this is a world that's hurting for Krampus to just come and fuck shit up, and that's just one thing. But I do like the style of the sequence and what it's meant to symbolize. What do you think, Matt?
Well, I really appreciate the effort they went into, like, to make Krampus authentic. Like, they made Omi, the mother who experienced him, had her be from Eastern Europe, which is where the legend of Krampus actually originated from. And, now my recollection of Krampus, this is what I learned when I actually went to the National Czech and Slovak Museum in eastern Iowa, because I lived there for a little while I was serving in AmeriCorps, and there was a part in that museum that talked about their Christmas traditions in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, and from what I can recall, Krampus and Santa on Christmas night would actually travel together to kids' houses, and according to legend, what would happen is if they were good kids, Santa would leave them presents, but if they were bad kids, Krampus would actually kill them, like the kids. So it's kind of weird that they'd be traveling together with such different positions, but yeah, so
I just imagine those two like on the sleigh or something, just riding across the sky, and Santa's like, "So, what'd you do to that kid exactly?"
Or just being like, "Do we really have to kill them?" Like, I figured that's a bit of a backpedal from giving them presents.
Yeah, being nice is a lot easier when your life literally depends on it.
Right. I mean, and I'd say that's probably how he was made. It was like he was just invented as something to scare kids into being on their best behavior, but which is weird though, because I mean, and maybe it varies, like maybe the version that Omi told was how the legend goes in a different part of Eastern Europe.
I know it's pretty big in Germany.
Germany, yeah.
And like again, Krampus isn't like Santa. Krampus is folklore. So, if you ever heard an urban legend, i.e., the babysitter and the man upstairs, it's not going to be the same every single time you hear it, and so
right,
yeah, the legend might change. But I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, you're fine. And yeah, it was there was actually one funny scene when they were dragging in Howard from the snow when he had gotten those big old bite marks on his leg. They wanted to get the children out of the room, so they had Dorothy get them out, and she was just like, "Come on, kids, I'll teach you how to make peppermint schnapps."
Yeah, I do like her character.
I do too, yeah. And so yeah, and I mean, I gotta say, that was kind of asinine even for a kid. Like, you see a gingerbread cookie just go down your chimney, and it's just hanging there, and your first thought is to eat it.
Yeah, but
like, I mean, even that kid was like what, 10 or 11? Even at that age, I would just be like, what the hell is going on here? but
yeah,
I mean, and also when they went to Derek's house to find Beth, the house was completely ransacked. Like, no one was there. It looked like a tornado had gone through it. It was pretty insane. So yeah, that implies that Krampus also probably killed Derek and his family.
Yeah, I think Krampus, again, going back to folklore, is similar to what the boogeyman is supposed to be. And we discussed this topic while discussing Halloween. And yeah, I'm not here to discuss like opinions about the folklore itself, but Krampus in this movie is just killing people without a Christmas spirit. It never explains whether or not Santa exists in this world, but I'm gonna assume he does, and it almost kind of makes Santa into like a godlike figure, where you have to not only believe in him but obey his rules, or he will repay you with torture and death. But yeah, so Howard obviously does not buy into this stuff. Weird shit's going on, but that doesn't mean evil Santa is around. So yeah, he's just gonna go try to go back out and find Howie and Beth. But he starts seeing Krampus-like monsters, and Krampus also gave Omi an ornament that says Krampus when he invaded her house. Starting to believe Omi, Tom, Sarah, and Linda go up to the attic to investigate when they're hearing noises all night. They find Jordan after she and Stevie got lost up there when going to the bathroom. While also finding other demonic beings looking like toys, an angel, a teddy bear, and a jack-in-the-box, I believe. They're able to escape after a lot of fighting and when Linda shoots them. And I do really like the design of these different creatures because they're just the right amount of creepy, I think. I just really like them. Yeah, I think they're very good inversion of classic Christmas paraphernalia. Then a incapacitated Howie stays downstairs in the kitchen, and he ends up having to fight demonic gingerbread cookies who shoot a nail gun at him.
Because, that's something that happens.
Dear God, I never thought I'd utter that collection of words in my natural life. Yeah, he is able to shoot the lantern next to them, burning 2 of them, and the dog eats the last one. Before we move on, let's talk about this little stretch of movie here. Again, I talked about how much I like the toys. The gingerbread are something that I'm mixed on. I like the design, but here's where it kind of falls off for me. This movie is essentially like Christmas Vacation meets Gremlins, and I feel like the gingerbread should start out being cute and then become creepy like the other 3 things. But here, they're just, like, cute, and you can't really take them seriously as a threat when a little cute gingerbread guy is jumping at you with a sharpened candy cane. It's like if a minion tried to attack you or something. You just couldn't really take it all that serious. But I do like the inclusion of the gingerbread because, again, I like when a movie like this sort of entails all of Christmas references and stuff like that, and the mythos of Christmas. What do you think?
Well, I liked how, like you said, the gingerbread men looked and sounded exactly like you would expect gingerbread men to in cartoons, even though they were literally trying to murder a guy. He was just like, nothing says loving like something from the oven. Now eat shit, motherfucker. And yeah, I also liked in this scene how Aunt Dorothy, like, Omi was trying to comfort all the kids, and Max, like, acted as the translator because he knew German and English. So for the last sentence Omi said, they looked at Max and were just like, what did she say? And then Aunt Dorothy just said, she said we're fucked. And then they were just looking at her like, really, Aunt Dorothy? And then she was just like, hey, I'm old enough to know when life is coming at you with his pants down. But, yeah, I really like this part. I mean, things really did start flying off the rails when you had like everything Christmas related come to life and start trying to massacre a whole family like and we eventually get to a point pretty soon where Aunt Dorothy actually makes herself useful for once, and I'll let Jack explain that.
Yeah, they all gather in the living room when many more monsters appear. Aunt Dorothy just starts blasting at them before she herself ends up getting taken, and they start to hear a loud horn, which called the monsters away from the house, and they take that opportunity to leave. They decide to head for a snowplow with the key still in it that Tom saw while looking for Beth. They are headed there, though Tom, Sarah, Jordan, and Linda are grabbed and pulled into the underground. Omi actually stays behind to face Krampus, who killed her when he opened his sack of toys. And here's where we get the first reveal of Santa. I'll try not to go in depth on every single part of this movie, or else it'll be hours long. But I think, as far as talking about this final scene, a lot of the main whole of the characters just start dropping like flies like that, which I didn't really care for. But this is when we actually see Krampus. Now, the scene, his introduction, it's all dark and snowy. He starts playing Christmas music on the radio, and he climbs down the chimney. You see these big horns, and you're just like, what fucked up shit are we in store for? And then he raises his hood, and he has the hooves, he has all the Krampus-like properties. He just kind of looks like evil Santa. Like, exactly what you'd imagine evil Santa to look like. That part I didn't really like, because in the mythos, he's a goat. He's a goat-like creature. And I would have preferred more of that going into it than him just looking just like a bad Santa. And I do like his introduction scene, though. Everything about that is great. It's just the look of Krampus I'm just sort of torn on. But what do you think?
Well, I liked how it really showed how desensitized Omi was to him, because here she was, it's just like this 80-year-old woman, and then you've got this 8-foot tall demonic figure, like, just getting bigger and coming down the chimney, and she doesn't even blink.
I think there's a vengeance aspect to it because he killed her family or something like that.
Right. But yeah, and really this does let you know that he is the opposite side of the coin when it comes to Santa. Like, he presents this sack full of toys that, instead of giving you cheer, actually kills you. And so yeah, and another thing I was just thinking about is, in the Bible, goats are often associated with Satan. So, I mean, and he is a demonic being. We all know that. So, like, maybe there's something like, maybe that's a part of what went into his anatomy, was the fact that he was evil, and so like part of the reason he was made to look like a goat is because it's associated with the devil and like not even just Christianity, but pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, and for context, there is an episode of the show American Dad where they actually have the character of Krampus, and it actually makes the case that Santa is the bad guy and Krampus is the good guy. And so I sort of think about that when I'm watching this movie, because I do actually think that's a rather good episode of the show. But especially in the context of that show, where Santa is just a murderous psychopath. But yeah, back on to this. So, Max could not get the truck to work, and he tries to find safety, but soon finds Krampus and his gang of demons all hanging around a pit that goes straight to hell, I'm assuming. Um, they're all dancing around it, and he bargains for Krampus to give his family back. And they all sort of laugh at him in their own demonic way. So he sees that Jordan is still alive and is about to be thrown in the fire, but he asks to be sacrificed instead. Krampus he seems to be acquiescing, but ends up just throwing both of them into the fire because fuck it. Max is falling to his death or to hell, but he wakes up in his room. Was it all a dream? The movie seems to point towards that, but yeah, he goes downstairs and everything is normal. They're getting ready to have Christmas morning. It looks pretty similar to how you or I might have Christmas morning. Everything seems just fine. Actually, rather happy. He comes downstairs and they're all opening presents, and then he gets Krampus's bell. The whole family looks surprised as if they remember what happened. And then the camera pans out from their house to reveal that they're in a snow globe, but not only them, but so many other houses are. And then we're jump scared by all the demonic toys as we roll credits. And there's a lot of Santa imagery and music in this, so it seems to really hammer home that Krampus is the inverse of Santa. Now, what does this movie mean? What does this ending mean? You could say that Krampus has them trapped for eternity for what they did, or you could say this is Krampus' way of keeping an eye on them. It's completely up for interpretation. What do you think?
I mean, I honestly have no idea what to make of the ending. Like, also, it's probably worth mentioning that that Tom, Sarah, the twins, and Linda all end up dying when they try to get to the truck, as they all get sucked into the same force into the ground that tried to take Howard earlier. And but yeah, I mean, the way I kind of saw was that, you know, they are now trapped by Krampus in Krampus's lair, and it's like, as to how they're gonna go about their lives now, it just, I mean, and I don't even so much know that they were looking surprised because they were remembering what happened as much as it was that they probably just they saw that Max got a present, which was just an old dirty ringing bell with the word Krampus on it, and we're just like, who gave him that? And it's just like, I honestly just don't know.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that too. Like, can they go anywhere? Can they go to school, or are they just trapped in their house? It's a very strange ending, and I think it's abstract as hell. And really, I don't think the director will ever say what it actually means, so we're left to theorize. For the movie as a whole, I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the most solid Christmas horror films ever made. That's just me. It's a matter of taste, but I really love it. It combines everything I love about a Christmas movie, whether it's regular or horror themed. And yeah, I'll give it a solid 9 out of 10 for just being a real solid Christmas movie.
I really liked it too. I really thought it was a great blend of comedy, tragedy, satire, just everything really. So yeah, I'll give it a 9 out of 10 myself.
Well, anyway, we will have one review until the big day, and yeah, we will just keep them coming. But for now, I am Jack Ellis.
And I am Matt Ellis.
This has been Oh the Horror. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.